You can imagine my shock this morning. I got up this morning, went in the bathroom as I do most mornings, and found out the water came on. The toilets flushed and the lights worked. I went out for my morning walk this morning. I got about 8 miles in, and the sun was up, the cars were driving around. The world had not come to an end. We heard from the major media all this last month that we were powering towards this fiscal battle that was going to take place and was going to shut down the U.S. government and the world would end as we know it. Well, the world doesn't end. I'm not suggesting the U.S. government should be shut down, but I am suggesting that when they tell us in the media and when Congress and the President tell us that the world is ending, the Chicken Little philosophy of news reporting and of ruling from Washington doesn't really mean what they say. The world doesn't come to an end. By the way, the U.S. government did not shut down at midnight this morning. They're still going. There's a few things that are inconveniencing people. Certainly if you're going to one of the national parks, you're not going to be able to get in, evidently. There are some other things. However, the Republican Party is being blamed for this. Interestingly enough, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives has passed a number of budgets this year. The Senate, not so much. The House, by the way, passed a solution to continuing what they call a continuing resolution. Now, why does Congress need a continuing resolution? Don't they do a budget every year that allows them to determine how money is going to be spent for that year? Well, the Constitution, I think, tells them they're supposed to do that. But in reality, since President Obama's taken office, we've yet to have one. President Obama has not presented a budget to Congress yet that has been passed by either house, even though both houses were controlled by Democrats for 2 years of his first term of presidency, and the Senate has been controlled by Democrats the full time he's been president. They've not approved one of his budgets. The House approved a continuing resolution. This is because they didn't do their job and pass a budget. They got through both houses, so now they have to have a continuing resolution to continue funding the U.S. government. The House, by the way, passed a continuing resolution that continues all facets of government as it has been. Now, there are a lot of us that think that the government should be reduced and the expenses of the government should be reduced, as many of us have had to do as individuals. But the continuing resolution the House of Representatives passed said we're going to continue spending the way we have, except for one thing. We're not going to fund, none of the money can be used for Obamacare. By the way, over 70% of the U.S. people do not want Obamacare, even though the Democrat-led House and Senate forced it down our throats. 70% of people in America want Obamacare to not be funded and not to take effect. The House of Representatives passed a continuing resolution, funds everything except Obamacare. The Senate refused to do so. The President says, I won't negotiate. There is no reason for me to negotiate. I won't give an inch. The Republicans get accused by the media and by the Democrats of being unwilling to compromise. I assure you, the continuing resolution by the House of Representatives was a compromise. Do you think that the only thing in the U.S. government spending that the Republican-led House is opposed to is Obamacare? No, that's just one of the many things that they would like to see reduced. So it is a compromise to pass a continuing resolution that funds everything but Obamacare. Now, the Republicans have a major problem. I have to admit this. They don't get it. The Republicans do not understand that they are in an ideological war. The Democrats are digging in. They've got their heels dug in. They are going to stick with the concept that the Democrat Party is run on today. That the solution to all problems is more government spending and more government programs. The Republicans, by and large, think that the way to solve problems is through the individual marketplace, through individuals and individual companies providing services to individuals, through individuals making decisions in their own lives. The media and the Democrats love to say that the Tea Party is this extreme right wing of the Republican Party. Now, I have nothing to do with the Tea Party. The only thing I really know about the Tea Party, I've gone to a couple of their websites and tried to find out information about them, but the only thing I really know comes from the media. And all the things I've ever seen about them in the media just say that they're in favor of more responsible spending by the government. They're not opposed to the government. They're just in favor of smaller government. Not no government, smaller government. They've been accused of being anarchists. Nothing I've heard from them suggests anarchy. It only suggests that they think the solution to the problems in America are best served by the individual marketplace, not by government. I happen to agree with that. Interestingly enough, the bulk of the American people agree with that. However, again, I repeat, the Republicans don't get it. They don't know this is an ideological war. They don't know that the Democrats are winning the ideological war, not because most people agree with the Democrats, but because the media and the Democrats do a better job of public relations. They do a better job of blaming the problems on the Republicans. The Republicans have to be, first of all, the Republicans have to do a better job of communicating what they're doing. Mitt Romney, by the way, a very nice man, I'm sure, ran for president last time around. I will tell you, I voted for him and I supported him. However, he did a terrible job of presenting to the American people that the solution to the problems that we face are through the individual marketplace. He didn't talk about the entrepreneurial nature of this country, which is what has actually built us through the years. He kind of acquiesced and he kind of wanted to be, a nice guy. Well, I'm not suggesting you do Chicago-style politics. I'm not a fan of that. I don't think you have to slam the other guy. What you do have to do is a better job of communicating how your solutions, your free market solutions, will solve the problems that exist today. How, in the case of this continuing resolution, the one thing the Republicans in the House of Representatives have done, and by the way, they've agreed to just not funding it for another year. By the way, President Obama, even though he's not authorized to do so, has given a number of exemptions, including the employer mandate. What he won't agree to is that you as an individual don't have the right to another year before you are forced to participate in Obamacare. Now, 90% of the American people have health insurance. 10% don't. The Congressional Budget Office has said, after Obamacare is fully implemented, 90% of the American people will have health insurance and 10% won't. What problem did they solve with this? The only problem they solved with this is they took more power and put it in the hands of the government. Now, if you're a believer that the government should have more power in your life, then you should be supporting the Democrats and you should be voting for Democratic congresspeople and senators. If you believe that you should be in control of your life and your future, then you should be voting for the Republicans. The Republicans have to do a better job of communicating that that is what they stand for. If they don't, they're going to end up losing. As a matter of fact, I'm always amazed when I hear people say, oh, I didn't leave the Republican Party, they left me. Now, I can't believe it. I can believe people are saying that. I can't believe people who say that then vote for the Democrats. Maybe the Libertarians. But not the Democrats. Because if the Republicans have left most conservative Americans, it's by going to more liberal concepts and supporting and acquiescing to more things that the Democrats demand because they think that's where the voters come from. The Republicans should be appealing to minorities because I happen to believe the way for minorities to rise up from many of the economic problems that they face today is not with democratic philosophies. Our cities have been run for 50 years by the Democrats and they've fallen into more disrepair. Our educational systems in the inner cities have gotten worse. As a matter of fact, under President Obama, black unemployment has risen dramatically. Dramatically. He's done nothing to help the minorities advance in this country. Entrepreneurial free enterprise is what will rise minorities into the middle and upper classes. We can't solve this problem by ignoring or trying to sound like the other guy. People say, well, you didn't compromise. What do you mean we didn't compromise? We're still funding all these other programs. That's a pretty big compromise, if you ask me. You also have to be careful. If you compromise too much with the other side, you actually become the other side. President Obama is very clear in what he says. His belief of what compromise is if you Republicans agree with him. Most people in the world think compromise is somewhere in between. not President Obama, and not the Democrat leadership in Congress. They think compromise means agreeing with them. I would tell the Republicans, and I would tell you as individuals, you should be contacting your representatives and telling them to hold firm. 70% of us don't want Obamacare. Don't fund it. Fund everything else. Finally, the Republican House has started passing one spending bill after another with just one item in it: Social Security, Defense, Medicare. That's the way to do it. The House of Representatives should be passing a bill for each thing that should in fact be funded by the federal government, one at a time. Tell the Senate to vote no on that. Tell President Obama to veto that. That's the way you win the ideological war. Fund the things that should be funded by the U.S. government and defund the others. Contact your representatives. By the way, if you are like me, Keith Ellison happens to be my congressman. I'm not particularly proud of that fact. I had nothing to do with it. Eric Paulson was my congressman before that, and gerrymandering put me into Keith Ellison's district. Shame on me for not helping somebody beat Keith Ellison. If you want things changed, you have to get active. In the meantime, I want you to think hard about these things that we talk about. I hope that you will like us and subscribe to us on YouTube. I hope you will like us and share us on Facebook. Until our next broadcast, I want you to remember, this is not nuclear science. It's third grade logic.